Have you ever felt that prickle on the back of your neck? That sudden chill that makes you whip around, certain someone's watching you, only to find nothing there? What if I told you that empty space might not be so empty after all? In this episode, we're peeking into the mysterious world of shadow people. Those dark, fleeting figures that dance at the edge of your vision, vanishing the moment you try to focus on them. Are they figments of our imagination? Visitors from another dimension? Or something far more sinister? Today, we're getting into some chilling encounters, we're exploring theories, and more. So lock your doors, check your corners, and whatever you do, don't blink. Because in the world of shadow people, what you can't see might be watching you. Happiest day, beautiful soul. Welcome back to The Media Matters, the podcast where we're all mini mystics learning about the paranormal, the supernatural, and all the things together. And everyone loves a good scare. I'm your host, Chantel, and today we're talking about shadow people. Who are they? Where do they come from? And why do they appear? So grab your cozies, slip under the covers, and cut the lights. So let's start with the basics. What exactly are shadow people? Well, shadow people are often described as dark, shadowy figures that resemble human silhouettes. They're usually seen out of the corner of your eye, and when you turn to look directly at them, suddenly they vanish. Creepy, right? These figures are often reported to move quickly and silently, adding to their super eerie nature. Here are some of the most common characteristics of shadow people. They're dark, shadowy figures that resemble human silhouettes or humanoid shapes, often lacking distinct features. They're perceived as living, autonomous beings that appear in one's peripheral or direct line of sight. They're usually seen as patches of shadow that move and behave independently. Shadow people are often associated with supernatural or paranormal phenomena, interpreted by some as ghosts, spirits, or other entities. They're typically described as having bodies comprised of a deep blackness, sometimes compared to a black hole in humanoid form. Shadow people may appear suddenly and vanish quickly, often seen flickering on walls and ceilings. Sometimes they're even reported to have glowing red eyes. What the heck? Shadow people are also said to be different from typical ghost sightings in that they lack details like clothing or facial features and are not usually associated with other paranormal phenomena like orbs or ectoplasm. Some paranormal investigators believe shadow people are a form of residual energy, imprints left behind by past events. Others think they might be time travelers or beings from parallel universes. On the scientific front, there's the idea that shadow people could be a trick of the mind, especially in low light conditions. Our brains are wired to recognize human shapes, so it's possible that we're simply misinterpreting shadows and reflections. So where did the concept of shadow people even originate? The idea of shadowy figures has been around for centuries, appearing in folklore, mythology, and even ancient texts. Some cultures believe shadow people are spirits of the deceased, while others think they're malevolent entities from another dimension. The term shadow people itself gained popularity in the early 2000s thanks to paranormal radio shows and online forums where people shared their chilling encounters. One example of this is the Coast to Coast AM late night talk show. In 2001, host Art Bell interviewed a Native American elder as well as author Heidi Hollis, both of whom discussed shadow people at length and encouraged listeners to submit their own stories. The show ended up receiving somewhere around 4,500 emails from listeners to include stories and drawings related to their experiences. So why do shadow people even appear? Well, there are several theories. Some believe they're manifestations of our subconscious fears, while others think they're interdimensional beings observing our world. There's also a scientific angle, where some researchers suggest that shadow people could be a result of sleep paralysis or hallucinations caused by stress and anxiety. And still others have suggested shadow people could be nothing more than an optical illusion or fluctuations in the electromagnetic field. Whatever the reason, their sudden and unexplained appearances have left a lot of people super spooked. If you're wondering when shadow people are most likely to make an appearance, well, I've got you covered. Based on first-hand encounters, it's been determined that shadow people tend to appear more frequently at nighttime. Shadow people are most commonly reported during nighttime hours, particularly late at night or in the early morning hours, and this aligns with their shadowy nature and the lower light conditions. It's also said they are more frequently seen in dark or poorly lit environments, which can occur at any time of day, but are more common at night. Many encounters occur in bedrooms or during sleep-related states like sleep paralysis, periods of insomnia or disturbed sleep patterns, or that transition between wakefulness and sleep. There really doesn't appear to be a strong correlation with particular seasons like summer, spring, winter, fall, but some people have reported more frequent sightings during winter months when the nights are longer, which makes sense because there is more darkness. A lot of people have reported encounters during times of immense stress. So it could be during periods of high stress or anxiety, sleep deprivation, or use of certain substances. Many reports involve encounters when people are alone in quiet environments, which can happen at any time, but may be more common, again, at night. You're welcome. So what should you do if you encounter a shadow person? Well, I say break open your magic arsenal and unleash the hellhounds. In all seriousness, we've talked a lot about protection throughout the episodes, like throughout the years. In my opinion, start with what you know and work from there. For example, I would start by shielding myself immediately in a bubble of protection. So we've talked about this before, where you would just throw up a bubble of, a color of your choosing around you, and this serves as protection. You could throw this bubble up as like a ball of red light or a big ball of white light. You could throw it up as a ball of fire. Whatever it is that resonates with you and protection, that is what you could use. I would also make sure that everything is overflowing in light, natural, fluorescent, and in between. You could also sage. You could pray out loud. Tell it to leave. It is not welcome in your space. And let me tell you, when you speak aloud, put some bass in your voice. It's your space and you will not be bullied in it. I know that in my journey, one of the things that has been most empowering is really finding my voice and getting basically pissed off when something shows up. It might scare me initially, where I'm like, oh my God, what the heck is that? And then my immediate next reaction is to be mad about it, because I'm like, whoa. You are not allowed in my space. You come if I invite you, but I have not invited you. So I have learned to really get firm and put my foot down, and it has worked so well. So I absolutely encourage you to take ownership of your space and say, yeah, listen, you cannot be here. Something else you can do is you can play music with bells and chimes to clear things up even faster. You can call in the archangels like Archangel Michael and ask for protection. Break out your protection crystals. I've said in other episodes, I love to have crystals around my house. Above all of the exterior doors and on some of the windowsills, I have small black crystals, and I just love their protection. I have asked them to protect our home, and so far so good. But do the things that resonate with you. Do it all. And if the issue is bigger than what you can handle, seek spiritual guidance from a professional and bring someone in that knows what they're doing and that can help you to handle the situation. So here are my final thoughts on shadow people. Haha, just kidding. You thought you were going to get away without any creepy tales, didn't you? So I have two stories about shadow people. In the spirit of full disclosure, neither is a personal encounter, but they did happen to very close family members who remember their experiences in great detail years and years later. So I'm going to tell these off the cuff. I'm going to tell them as I remember them. These are old stories. They're old. So the first one happened to my uncle way back when I was just a teen version of the lovely girl you know today. So I believe what was going down is my aunt and uncle and my little cousins lived in an apartment, and they were moving out, their lease was up. So there was this transition period where their lease was coming to an end, but they still had a little time before their new place was ready. So they're scrambling to get everything done at their apartment, get everything boxed up and moved out. And so in that little interim period where everything is packed up, there's no beds or anything, my aunt, my uncle, my cousins were going to come and stay with us. And we were just down the street from where they lived at their apartment. So my uncle is spending some time at the apartment, and he's just taking care of the last of the things, like the straggler things, and cleaning the apartment so he can get it ready to hand the keys back over. And he ended up being there pretty late, so he decided that he was just going to stay. And so he made himself a little bed in the living room, and it's late, like past midnight, I think. And he is so exhausted, burned out, and just ready for some sleep. So he turns everything off, he gets tucked in, and he is trying to fall asleep, and he hears some whispering. So he picks his head up, and he's kind of looking around in the dark, but he doesn't hear anything. So he just sits there quietly to see if he hears it again, and nothing. So he lays his head back down, and he's just thinking it over and thinking, well, maybe someone's outside and that's what I heard. But this is in the middle of the week, and everything is pretty much shut down. This is a quiet neighborhood, and this has never been an issue. But in the moment, you're trying to talk yourself into what it could be, or you're trying to be logical and say, don't be crazy. It doesn't mean it's a ghost. It could just be, two people walking by outside. And I don't know which version you are, if you are the jump to the logical or if you're jump to the paranormal like me. In any event, I digress. So he's laying there, he lays his head back down, and he closes his eyes. He's trying to go back to sleep, and then he hears footsteps. So he sits up, and he's looking around in the dark, and he doesn't hear anything. So he's like, what the heck is going on? I hear whispering, and then I hear footsteps, but these footsteps are in the apartment. It sounds like it is in the apartment with him, and he's like, what the hell? But he knows no one else is there. No one's upstairs. No one is downstairs. It is just him. So he's sitting there, and suddenly he hears the whispering and the footsteps again, and it's all around him. So he stands up, and he's like, what the hell is going on? And just then he looks over, I guess turns his head and looks over towards one of the walls in the living room. And he sees in the darkness these shadows dancing on the wall, just moving, these human figures moving across the wall. He could not get out of there fast enough. He grabbed his shoes, his keys, his wallet that were sitting right next to the little bed in the living room, and he got the hell out. So in the morning, my mom wakes up to my uncle sitting on the porch because I guess he must not have had a key to get in. I don't remember the situation, but he's sitting on the porch, and my mom is like, what is going on? What are you doing? He tells her everything. He is just sitting there, too afraid to sleep. He is waiting for that sun to come up, and he is like, you were never going to believe what happened. To this day, my uncle still gets the shivers talking about this. It is the craziest thing. And, I never asked him, and I should ask him, if this is the scariest thing that's happened to him. I am confident that nothing else had happened in that apartment. So it's not he was accustomed to hearing things go bump in the night. But this was it was way too much. So he was like, I'm out. So he did end up, I believe he ended up going back to just pick stuff up. And it was during daytime hours, he did not hang around. He just got in, got out, and that was it. So I will never forget that story. I think it makes us all laugh now because we're and it's not laugh oh, haha, you got scared. It's holy crap. It's more laughing out of fear. But I cannot imagine something like that happening. And on top of that, it's not you have someone right there with you. You're alone, alone. It's too much. It's too much. So my next story takes place years and years later. So it's a weekend day, I believe, and I'm at home and I am on the phone talking to one of my aunts. And we're just talking about who knows what, just catching up and whatever. And so, to paint a picture, my aunt and I live 8 miles apart, and she lives on one side of the city and I live on the other side. So, we were just talking, catching up. We'd been on the phone for a little bit, and she's mid-sentence, and then I hear it's something catches in her throat. It's she wants to say something or scream or something, and she can't. She can't even breathe. And then this yell comes out of her, and she is oh my God, oh my God. She is like panicking. I'm like, oh my God, Thea, are you okay? What's happening? Tell me, are you okay? Talk to me. And she is like, she is incoherent. She is freaking the F out. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? So I am now on my side of the world. I am now standing and I'm like, what is happening? What's going on? And then she is finally able to say something, like string words together. And she's like, I just saw someone walk through my house. I just saw someone walk through my house. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I know that she's in the house by herself. My cousins like live somewhere else now. Like my cousins are grown, they're my age, so they live somewhere else. My uncle, I think, was on an assignment somewhere, so he's like out of town. So it's just my aunt at the house. And so I'm like, what do you mean you just saw someone walk through the house? So she is explaining to me that she is like, let me see if I can paint the picture for you. She's sitting in her kitchen, I believe. She's in her kitchen and she's sitting at the kitchen table. And from the kitchen table where it is, and I'm trying to figure out how to paint the layout for you. So let me start at the front door. When you open the front door to her house, the front door opens right to the staircase. Like you look up the staircase. If you look just to the right, like you don't even have to turn your head, you just turn your eyes, and that is the living room. You can see the entire living room. Just beyond the living room is the dining room. So this is all open. There are no walls between the living room and the dining room. And standing from where you are, you can kind of see into the kitchen, but you need to move like into the living room. So you now have the wall of the stairs on your left, like on your left shoulder. And now you're like kind of standing in the living room, and standing from right there, you can see straight down into the kitchen, which is straight ahead. As you walk toward the kitchen, there is a little hallway to your left. So you're walking through the living room and you kind of get towards the end of the living room where it almost becomes like the dining room. And off to the left, there is a little hallway that goes to a closet and to the garage. And then you walk just like another couple of feet and there's another hallway that off to your left that goes to a bathroom on the left. There's a laundry room on the right, and then straight ahead, like down at the end of the hall, is my aunt and uncle's bedroom. So I hope that paints a good picture and I did not confuse you. And then, of course, if you just keep walking straight ahead, you're into the kitchen. So from the kitchen table where she is sitting, she can see down into like, you know, towards like the very front of the house where like the front door area is. And so from that vantage point, she is sitting there talking to me on the phone, and she sees that it looks like someone walks from the dining room area and walks past the kitchen and down that little hallway where the bathroom, the laundry room, and her bedroom are located, and they just go down there. And she just described this as a black figure. It is just a black shadow. She is finally at a point where she can string these words together, but she is in a freaking panic. So I said, okay, hold the phone. Like, I am coming right now. Just stay on the line with me. I need you to calm down, take some deep breaths, get outside if you need to. And we're fairly confident that this isn't like an actual person because of where this like quote unquote person came from. They would have had to come through a wall to be able to like walk through the dining room, past the kitchen entrance, and into that hallway where the bathroom, the laundry room, and her master bedroom are located. So that is it. Like, it would just be having to come through a wall, and that's like an exterior wall. There's no door on that wall. Like, I hope I am explaining this well. So I finally get over there. Like, I am gunning it to get there, and I get there and I'm like, are you okay? Just take some deep breaths. Tell me what happened. So she tells me again, she's like, I was sitting right here and I saw from here this big, tall, dark shadow just walked right past, like from here, and went down towards my bedroom. And so we checked everything out together, and there was nothing. And the crazy thing is that my aunt is a lot like I am. Like, she has a lot of different abilities, and She experienced a lot of things in that house. She has experienced a lot of things like in her lifetime, but she did experience a lot of things in that house. There were times when it was just the two of us in her house, and we could like, hear some movement or something upstairs, or feel like a crazy like shift in the energy. Not always like negative, but sometimes it was like eerie, where we were like, what the heck is going on? And what's really crazy and also cool is that when the two of us are together, and this could be like we're together in person or we're together like on the phone having a conversation, it seems like our energy just comes together and really like sparks fly. It is the craziest thing. I have not experienced that with anyone else, but there's just something about us coming together. So we experienced a lot of stuff together in her home, and she on her own experienced a lot of things. I know that it's not the only time that she has seen a shadow person. That one I remember clearly because I really thought something crazy was going down. And of course, like, she's 8 miles away, which is not a lot of distance, but it's still 8 miles. And so just trying to get to her was like, my nerves were so frazzled. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to find? Is she okay? But I knew enough that we did not need to call like 911. And she was able to say like, no, I'm safe. There's nothing like of this world that is harmful or that is like threatening to me, if that makes sense. So it was such a crazy situation, and crazy to like be part of it in that way, where we're just having this chill conversation, and then she is like, there's like the scream or something caught in her throat where she can't even talk, like nothing is coming up because she is so terrified. So we've worked together a lot on these things, where I have helped her by sharing the things that I have learned in my journey. And I'm so happy to do that because she has spent so much more of her time being afraid than I have. I've had the wonderful, beautiful luxury of finding Sophie, my incredible mentor and guide and teacher in all of these things. And for having my friends like Marie and Lily and all of you who have shared your beautiful experiences and your tips and tricks and all the things. And so I just love being able to share that with her and just helping her to know that she can set boundaries and stand her ground and say, absolutely not, hell no, this is my space and you cannot be here. So yes, 2 incredible stories about shadow people. And again, these are not like my immediate stories, but I remember being quite close to these stories where, one, I was on the phone to hear something transpire, and with the other one, like, I ended up hearing it from my uncle and my mom and stuff, who, my poor uncle, he was beside himself. So yes, that is, it was craziness. And I know there are so many stories. I actually read a lot of stories in preparation for this episode. And if you ever want me to share those, I will gladly do that. For this episode, I did want to just share these 2 close encounters, I would say, semi-close encounters, and just, let you be part of those with me. But yeah, if you do want to hear some of those other ones, I would be happy to share them because, we love a good scary story here. So yes, that is a wrap for today's episode. I think you just do the best you can. And with all of these things, whether it's a ghost, it's a shadow person, it's whatever it is, you have a lot of power. Don't forget that. You have all the power, actually, and you put your foot down and you stand your ground. And if you don't know what to do, seek out the help of a professional. And that's, metaphysical shops. You can find people there who can, if there isn't anyone there, maybe they can point you in the right direction. Online, there are just so many resources online now, which is so beautiful and fantastic. If you are part of a church or a spiritual group of some sort, you could also reach out to them and say, hey, this is what's going on. I need your help. But, do not be afraid. Use the tools that you have. Be brave, my love. You can always reach out to me and ask your questions and share your stories. I love to hear them. And I love your questions too. You ask such beautiful questions and you share such incredible stories. So yes, that is our episode. It was a good one. So let me know what you think. Share your stories. Just share all the good things. If you enjoyed this episode, and I really hope that you did, please follow for more and share it with the ones you like and love, because sharing is caring. Send us your spooky stories and questions on Instagram, Facebook, or via email at hello@themediummatters.com. Make sure you head over to themediummatters.com to join our absolutely free newsletter where we talk about upcoming moon cycles, rituals for the seasons, everyday magic, and so much more. Until next time, my beautiful friend, keep your doors locked, your eyes open, and your holy water close by. See you next time.